1983 is the date that I call that we finally recognized that we had made a disastrous mistake. And that's when MJ-12 realized that they were in deep, deep trouble. They had made a deal with these people, and it had not worked out, and now the question was what to do.
You got about a minute left. What would you like to say to people out there to prepare them for it? Now, you've made allusions a couple of times when I've had you on the program that something is coming. We've heard that before, something is coming. Why do you think something is coming? What's coming? And how should we get ready for it?
There's really no way to get ready for it. The reason I think it's coming is because I have contacts within the government that tell me that they're bracing themselves for something, but they're not going to tell us about it. George, maybe the cover-up was in our best interest, maybe not. Maybe the government underestimated the intelligence of the American people and decided we just couldn't handle it. But let me tell you this, the truth is still the truth, and nothing can change that. Not the military, not the government, and not me. Or the grand deception. And they were trying to get us used to the benevolent little creatures, but that isn't the case. It's too big. The problem is not only just the fact that there are five and as many as 10 different civilizations visiting us. Apparently, and this is from the research that I've done, at least 90% of them are hostile. And when I say hostile, if not hostile, they have a completely different set of morals than we do.
Are they afraid of a panic, that people would panic?
There's the panic problem, and there's also the problem that, in fact, in Cro-Magnon man, there may have been some tinkering to make us what we are today. And that's been borne out by several researchers. We couldn't have developed exactly the missing link. Something had to happen to get us going. Between 4,000 and 8,000 BC, we had just been going along, and for hundreds of thousand years not doing anything. All of a sudden, bang, we started making pottery, invented the wheel, invented fire, and everything took off. What was the key that did that? You know, in 1962, Kennedy ordered what became known as the report on Iron Mountain, and what he was interested in was finding out if there's anything other than war that could stimulate the economy to the extent war could. We've always had a war to stimulate the economy. Always had one. In recent years we had Vietnam and then Saddam Hussein, which was all manufactured. I mean, I flew an airline. We used to take the troops, American troops in there, Green Berets, to train Saddam for the 2 or 3 years before that war, you know.
Well, they create the crisis.
They create the crisis. So the report from Iron Mountain said really that there was nothing that would stimulate the economy as well as war. And they had considered medical research, space research. They said that there was one thing that would stimulate it, and that was a threat from an extraterrestrial species, real or imagined.
Good morning. My name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, after being a 6th grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, "Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space." And I said, you know, teachers don't stop until June. He said, no, you have to understand, this is February, and we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies, he said, against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system, the first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat. Well, at the time, I kind of laughed when he said asteroids, and when he said extraterrestrials, I knew I wasn't going to deal with that subject. And now we hear on the news just today, this week, that they've slid in another enemy. Only this time we're going to protect our satellites. In other words, we have to have some reason to spend these trillions to waste these dollars on a space-based weapon system, and they're all lies.
Fake alien invasion. And the only thing fake about it, because the destruction's going to be real. The destruction's going to be real. It's going to be the devastation of our cities. The only thing fake about it is that we're never going to get to see the alien visitors because they're not real. That's the only thing. We're never going to get to actually see them. But the members of the elite, the members of the cabal, the same people who are pushing the pandemic right now, they're going to be stepping forward and saying, hey, we can save you guys. We're in contact with the alien overlords, and they said that you should put me in charge and that everything will be okay. This tic-tac stuff, that is all part of that, because they have this plan on the back burner for the moment that the pandemic fails. That it fails, it falls apart. They're going to roll right into that. And that's what I'm here to warn people about.
And we will hear testimony today concerning recent revelations about a purportedly secret UAP program whose existence and findings may have been improperly withheld from Congress. This is going to be the original document about Immaculate constellation.
Those of us who have been following this very closely have been hearing whispers of the words Immaculate constellation for a few months now.
The Immaculate constellation, it's a UAP reconnaissance program. I can affirm this 100%.
What is in here is wild. I mean, and I'm paraphrasing, but reports of F-22s getting like boxed in by flying orbs that they couldn't shake. There were satellite images or satellite image of a football field-sized flying saucer hiding in clouds.
I have personally walked people into members' offices for private meetings so they could see eye to eye and they could meet. You are the author of what the world knows as the Immaculate Constellation Report.
It has been allowed to corrupt and infest every aspect of our society to serve the interests and whims of a very elite, select few.
Definitely. It better happen before that. I don't think we're going to be in any shape in a decade to be doing very much of anything. So I'm not hopeful for the future direction that we're moving in it.
And the future direction, climate-wise, AI-wise?
Climate-wise and geopolitical-wise. That's the thing I think is going to kind of come. I think things are going to be pretty difficult starting in a few years. And from what I've been told by sources.
You hear of something big coming down the pike. Have you heard of these claims? And if so, do you have any idea what it may be?
Yes, I've heard of them. Yes, I'm aware of them. And I'm not able to have that conversation.
Got it.
It's not my conversation to have, but I am aware of it.
2027 was mentioned at one time. I've heard other dates in the 30s. I don't know. I've got no idea. I have no leads that make me feel strongly that this is true. I think it's speculative.
Reading a lot of stuff that says, full contact in 2027. And there's all these people that used to work for NASA or all these other organizations out there talking about how our history as a species is really simply a...
Some may feel in the government the mere fact of acknowledging this, if there is some sort of malintent, may push up artificially a clock that exists somewhere for these things to say, okay, the foolish humans are now, the cat's out of the bag, they know we're here, we need to go in now.
And so at a certain point, where do they have to do something to protect other places? Because there's a universal principle of self-defense. So far, we've just been cruising along, getting away with this foolish and childish behavior. But I can't give you a timeline on that, but I think that, I honestly, from what I've heard from very senior intelligence sources inside the so-called illegal operations, is that it's thought that it would not be able to go on beyond 2026.
Story that set the whole UAP community on fire about this disclosure that I think Jeremy Corbell was coming out and whistleblowing on, if I remember correctly, that they were saying that they're gonna blue beam, they're gonna trick us by saying that there's a mothership arriving. And
that lie is going to be that there is a craft slowly making its way to us here on Earth. And that is the lie they're going to want you to believe. That is the lie you will be told. You're going to be told that there is a craft on its way to Earth. That's the lie.
Where it's like, how do you know he's saying that he's exposing it, but how do you know if he's exposed? It's just like...
Yes, there was an official effort by some people in the government to actually look at this data, and there were some products produced. That's a fact. I won't go into more detail than that. But it wasn't 2027.
Okay.
And
no, tell them what Blue Beam is.
The allegation was that there is an alien mothership that is about 2 years away from Earth, and it's going to make landfall on Earth in 2027. And that is the government's PSYOP plan.
I'm just concerned. That's all.
Yeah.
So I don't think 10 years in the future. I only think 3 or 4 years into the future.
Mm-hmm. It's too uncertain past that point.
I would say so.
On mission, I know that it actually occurred. They mentioned Holloman. They mentioned an agreement of some kind, and that there is a 50 to 70 year periodicity when that sort of a meeting takes place again. So we're in that time zone right now.
And is this the alleged countdown clock that we've been hearing about?
Yes, that's the one Ramirez and I and everybody else has talked about. We still don't know who originated it. But yeah, we all kind of tend to have fallen onto that time frame.
A lot of what we take for granted now in life, I don't think is going to be, we're not going to have it. A lot of things we have now that makes our lives as wonderful as they are.
Like electricity?
I don't know. Just the access to all the things we have access to now that are dependent on the globalization, basically, which just aren't sustainable.
This is from King Milkfart, and they say, how do you feel about a supposed impending event that is coming? Do you feel anxious, happy, excited? How do you feel?
Well, first of all, great question. Almost a trick question. Very, very clever. Very, very well worded. There's been a lot of talk about something happening. I am aware through certain channels of that same discussion. It may not necessarily be the exact dates that people are thinking right now. And quite frankly, we're not really quite sure what to think of it. Right now, there's a lot of innuendos and rumors going around. There is some discussion behind closed doors about maybe something occurring.
Exact alignment will happen in 2026 at Easter.
What will happen?
The star will, the alignment she told me about, that the star of Regulus would be on the horizon in front of the Sphinx. At that moment, there'd be a new knowledge. Well, I had no idea if this was even possible, but these astronomers run it through the machines, and it comes out that star is going to come up on the horizon in Easter of 2026. And from that point forward, they started remote viewing.
And I would say I've heard 2027 in a kind of an official capacity I can't reveal. So I think I would say that people in the government are aware of something happening and that there's limited time few more years to prepare the people, and that's what's ramping up this acceleration from the previous 7 decades of not even acknowledging it to now we are acknowledging it at a faster and faster pace.
The biggest takeaway for folks to understand is that things are happening on it's not a disclosure, it's a scheduled dissemination. And so certain things have to be set up before other things can be revealed.
Can you elaborate on the 2027 date and just let people know what you were told about that, or what's upcoming here for people?
2026 date. It's amazing to see everybody just claiming this every day now. 2026, 2027, that year. Something's going to happen. Well, let me tell you, in 2013, I was given that date by the lady about a future time that a new knowledge would come and the world would shift into a time of peace afterward, but not without trouble. And that's what she told me, and along with a lot more. But I put it all in writing to a couple of generals at the Pentagon.
Anyways, I think the word got out within the government that they're showing up in 2027, and we better be prepared. And if not, there's going to be a lot of explaining to do.
That the year 2027 has emerged in various social media venues. I was asked about my knowledge of that year. I, John Ramirez, acknowledged that 2027 seemed to loom large within the channeler and spiritual consciousness communities. I suggested that they research what Anjali and Chris Bledsoe have stated.
And Chris was telling me about the apocalyptic visions that he was having. And I already knew by that time that this was something that absolutely happened to people who were experiencers. But I also told him this. I said, Chris, people have been having these apocalyptic visions for over 2,000 years. And we're still here. I said, so it could possibly be that, this might happen. I mean, who am I to say that it's not going to happen?
I've been pushed back by CIA for 3 things. And one of them was 2027. One of them was 2027.
I just got some information from a manager within a hospital. They were told that they are going to go back to paper records for 30 days. Why? As a trial or a test for just in case there was a blackout of the internet or a widespread power outage for a long period of time.
Can't believe I sat through a school safety meeting today and we went over alien invasion protocols, procedure.
The plot known as the Orion Conspiracy. Our research group is convinced that UFOs constructed by the Americans or the Russians will be used to support an hoax attack on the Earth of extraterrestrial origin. The media taking care of the rest, of course. The reason? Once the threat of international terrorism has dissipated, the war economies of the major powers, with the United States at the head of the pack, will need a new enemy in order to still prosper. War on Earth will be replaced by space war against an enemy from beyond.
In the year 2024, a global event will alter the course of mankind's future. The world will stand witness to a massive alien invasion. Thousands of projected holographic alien warships will blanket the skies, sending people into a global panic. Real military crafts within the holograms will inflict actual damage to the surrounding areas to sell the gimmick. And as a result of the ensuing human chaos, a one-world government will immediately form without any resistance from the people. They will be the new world order. Once this happens, we as a people will be doomed to enslavement and accelerated depopulation. With that said, the only hope for human salvation is to acquire and spread the knowledge of these activities and agendas.
But the truth is that
the Orion group is a satanic force who takes over star systems. Well, Orion is in every single ancient site around the world. And not only that, but the human beings worship Orion, this satanic group of aliens, and they're real. And what's going to happen is they're going to do a fake alien invasion to blame all of their atrocities on Orion, the alien group, and get away in order to get away with the crimes against humanity of trading human beings for technologies since World War II that the military has been doing in secret for the past 80 years. So they're going to do this fake alien invasion, blame it all on Orion. This way they can continue receiving money and support from the people, gain troops, and have a new war and get away with the crimes against humanity of trading human beings for technology.
I was a co-author on a paper with Adam Hibberd and Adam Crowell, where we said the orbit, the trajectory of this object appears to be quite remarkable. It arrives within 5 degrees of the orbital plane of the Earth around the Sun. And the chance of that happening randomly is 0.2%. And moreover, it will arrive closest to the Sun when the Earth is on the opposite side of the Sun. And moreover, if you just play with the arrival time randomly, you would notice that only 1 out of 20,000 arrival times would come as close to the inner planets like Jupiter, Mars, or Venus. So that is an unusual coincidence. And why would such a trajectory be so unusual? Well, one possibility is if it was designed by some intelligent civilization, it also comes towards us from the direction of the galactic center, from the Milky Way center, where there are lots of stars, and it's very difficult to notice it. That's why we discovered it so late. By now, it's impossible for us to launch a rocket that will intercept with it, because it would move relative to Earth. It comes in the opposite direction of the motion of Earth around the Sun, and the relative velocity would be 98 kilometers per second when it comes closest to the Sun. And that is 3 times the maximum speed that we can accomplish with chemical rockets. And so there is no way for us to reach it, to intercept with it. And perhaps it wants to break, like when we launch rockets and we want to accomplish a very high speed, we usually introduce a thrust near the Sun, and that buys you the highest kick velocity, taking advantage of the gravitational assist by the Sun. And so if this object wants to do a reverse maneuver, meaning to slow down and get bound to the Sun so that if it's a spacecraft, so that they can visit us, that would be the point where we can't see it because it's hiding behind the Sun. And it raises the interesting possibility that might be technological in origin. Of course, we will know much more in the coming month or two, and it may not be it may be just a comet, but I think it's important to consider the possibility that any interstellar object coming into the solar system might be technological. Because if you just consider the last century, we started transmitting radio signals, basically flagging that we exist as a technological civilization. And there is this dark forest hypothesis that is the answer to Fermi's paradox. Where is everybody? Well, they might be silent, waiting to notice things that might be a threat to them because they were bruised in interactions. So there might be a lot of aliens around. And if someone was listening to our technological signals, they might have realized that here there is a young technological civilization and we don't want to have that threat. So they would send hostile mission towards Earth. Of course, that may not be the case. We don't know. But it's the kind of threat that is not often entertained, because